Hi, I hope you're well. Today I just wanted to do a chatty video about career changes in your 20s, particularly if you have spent years at uni studying one thing and then after uni or halfway through you realize that you want to do another thing. And yeah, just kind of my thoughts and opinions and experience around changing your career to something you haven't studied. A bit of background if you don't know my story. I did straight out of uni, I actually did a year doing international hotel and tourism management. I went to the University of Queensland for my whole degree uni experience, which ended up being nearly 7 years. But did that because out of school, I don't know exactly why I chose that. Really, to be honest. So just sounded interesting. There were lots of other things I was interested in, but that's what I ended up choosing. I think as well my friend Liv was doing it. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll do it too. Like, you know, when you don't know what you want to do, like, yeah, that sounds okay. And in the first semester of that, I did a business law subject and I was like, I want to change to law, but you couldn't start until the next year, and want to change to doing commerce and within that finance. So like that was my major, finance rather than accounting. So I couldn't change to the next year. Actually, I only did 6 months of doing the international hotel and tourism management. Then I was kind of like, this isn't for me. And then I did 6 months of political science because, as I was saying, you had to wait till the beginning of the next year to change into law. They only take people at the beginning of a year. So I think as well that was because Liv did it. And she ended up doing law as well, but she didn't do finance. But I don't know why I did that. I was never interested really in politics. It was one of those things like, it sounds good, I'll give it a go. So it was good in that way to like try a few things and know, okay, this is not for me. So I did that, and then I started doing law and commerce, majoring in finance, which is a 5.5 year dual degree. I finished the whole thing. So I graduated, I started uni in 2009 and I finished midway through 2015. I also did a diploma in languages, majoring in French. Why did I do that? Oh, one of my friends, can you see a theme? One of my friends wanted to do it and I was like, that sounds cool. And then she didn't end up being able to do it, but I did it anyway. So I was doing full-time studies plus an extra subject, and I was working like part-time or full-time hours throughout it. So yeah, so what I want to talk about is now that I have, let me not skip over things. Okay, so I graduated and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to work in. About halfway through my law degree, I kind of started thinking like, I don't really think I want to work in law. If you can't tell, I'm not a very confrontational person, and I don't really like having long drawn out arguments on the principle of things, which is what law is. I don't like wasting time just on the principle of it. So of course there are principles to uphold, but when there's just a lot of stress for no real good reason, I kind of realized I didn't want to spend my time doing that. And but I love studying law and I found it so fascinating. And finance I was really interested in as well, but I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to work in the finance world. And so throughout my degree, and I started my blog about halfway through, I was kind of like, oh, you know, should I, I didn't know what I wanted to change to. So that's kind of why I didn't change to anything else. I was like, well, I don't really know that I want to be doing this, but I don't know what else I want to be doing. And if I wasn't doing that, I probably would have never started my blog, and this video would probably never be happening. So I have absolutely no regrets about it. And yeah, I kind of started my blog because I was like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life, and no one is really talking about this. Does anyone else know what they want to do? Why do I feel like I'm the only one who has no idea? So yeah, that's how it was kind of born. And I started my blog in like 2 years before I finished uni. Then when I graduated, one of my friends was working at one of the big accounting firms in insolvency accounting, which isn't really accounting. Like, I didn't study accounting at uni, besides having to do like an intro subject. So insolvency accounting is like liquidations and bankruptcies, and a lot of it is law related, and then a lot of it is like running a business and selling real estate and that kind of thing. That's a very generalized description of what it is, but it's not accounting. So I ended up kind of falling into that, and I worked in that for 2 years until March this year. And I have just been so fiddly lately. What the fuck? Sorry, I'm sure it's so distracting. Okay. No more fiddling. I don't know what to do with these hands, but I'm not gonna fiddle, or at least like this anymore. So yeah, I worked in that for 2 years, learned a lot, made some amazing friends, had a great time, but the whole time knowing that it wasn't my thing. And I'm sure you might know the feeling of being like, this isn't horrible, but this isn't it. And yeah, just feeling like I would be better use elsewhere, and someone would be like, there'd be someone better than me, like someone who I was taking a position away from someone who would do really well in it and would love being there, and I would be more helpful elsewhere. So in March, I left my full-time job and said goodbye to the corporate world. I went back to my reception job that I had at uni, at one of the hospitals. I just work part-time afternoon, part-time afternoon hours, so that I have significantly more time to film videos like this, and to work on my blog, and to grow it, and to really create a business around it, which is so exciting. So it really is a career change from the accounting / corporate. Like, if I wanted to, I could be a lawyer right now. I could be an accountant. I'd have to do a bit more training to be a lawyer, do the PLT, but I am qualified in those things, but have chosen to essentially do something that you don't need any degree to do. I have about $60,000 in debt from study. The way it works in Australia, if you don't know, is that the government, you essentially borrow the money from the government, and you only pay it back once you begin earning a minimum amount or a threshold, which is around the sort of average starting corporate wage you get. So it's different to the US, and it's a different kind of debt. So you only have to start paying it back once you are earning enough money. I haven't even had to start paying it back yet because I haven't earned over that threshold. So so that's the deal with that. So a lot of people, when I have been sharing what I'm doing and the decision I made to change, are like, oh, but you have aren't you going to use your law degree? Aren't you going to use your I don't have an accounting degree. Aren't you going to use your finance degree? And I get it, but I've always been of the opinion, I don't know if this is from my dad, probably is, of just like a sunk cost. Like, I've never had a real issue with feeling like it's a waste to not use it. Part of the way I see it is I'm going to be working till I am at least, say, 70. And by the time we're all that age, I'm sure the working age will be a much more. But so I'm 26 now, and I have, 45 years of working life ahead of me, and I have spent 5 years at uni, 45 ahead of me, 5 behind me. I'm not going to spend 45 years doing something just to make those 5 years worth it. So that's my opinion on that kind of thing. If you are going to change careers, like change industries, you will get those questions, and you can just say, like, I've learned a lot, but this is something I want to do. I've got a lot of time ahead of me. It's never too late to get into it. It's not a waste. I also learned so much from studying that, like, just a lot of life skills, like meeting deadlines, being accountable, because at uni, they don't care if you hand in your assignment or not. If you miss the deadline, you miss the deadline. It's not like high school where they're like, oh, where was that assignment? They're like, you didn't do it. No worries. So I learned a lot about that. From law, I learned, like, my writing skills improved so much throughout that degree. When I was in high school, I think I was getting feedback of, like, I wasn't really good at writing, and I had this idea that I wasn't good at writing, and then I don't know when it happened, but somehow I became good at writing just through repetition and doing a lot of assignments and needing to articulate myself well in written word. So that was really good. I learned that. And also from law, I learned there is never one answer for anything. And in the first year of law school, you're like, but what's the answer? Like, can't you just tell me, if we had this question, what would I write down? And they're like, oh, it could be that, could be that, could be that. It's basically whatever you can justify. And yeah, for the first year or maybe the first 2 years, you're kind of like, but what's the answer? And by the end of it, you're like, you stop asking that and you start really understanding that there are no clear answers. And I think that's such an amazing mindset to have around life, because there's never like, oh, this is the exact right answer of how to have your perfect life. You need to do this at this age, this at this age. Like, there is no answer. You can justify anything you want, and that is something huge that I learned. From finance, that was extremely helpful to have a lot of financial literacy and to really understand how powerful it is to have a real understanding of that side of things. And now that I have my own business, just being very aware of the importance of knowing the numbers and being able to understand them, and not so that I necessarily have to do them myself, but so that when someone is talking to me about them, I can understand what they're saying, and, you know, they won't pull the wool over my eyes or that kind of thing. So I have no regrets, even with 60 grand of uni debt, which I'm sure I'll have to start paying off soon as I earn over that threshold. But, ooh, Steve's dad is doing work under the house, and it can get really noisy. I'm nearly finished though. Bear with me. So yeah, I think if you want to change careers, change industries, really, like, this is just my opinion, but it's sunk cost. You can't change what you've done, and continuing down a path that isn't the right path for you isn't going to make it worth it, isn't going to make that more valuable. And we all kind of have this desire to be consistent with our past decisions and to not look like we've backflipped, to not look like we've changed our mind, because people, like, you know, when people are like, oh, she has no idea what she's doing, she always changes her mind, like, that's always spoken about like it's a bad thing. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's extremely powerful to be able to change your mind and say, well, yeah, I did used to have this opinion, I did used to think I wanted to do law, and now I've realized and have decided I don't. I think it's so powerful to be able to change your mind about something, and to not be afraid to be seen to change your mind, because yeah, no one really cares. Like, and if you struggle with perfectionism, you probably have a tendency to people please, and you are doing what you think other people, like what you should do. But as we all know, that doesn't matter, and it's a difference between knowing something and actually like doing it. But yeah, no one really cares what you're doing. And you care the most. So if you know that you want to change industries, or you're just thinking about it, like, don't be scared to seem to change your mind and to be one of those people that, oh, they keep changing their mind, they have no idea what they're doing. I feel like it's better to be having no idea what you're doing, like that perception, than looking like you're really certain about something you really don't want to be doing. Do you know what I mean? So just my experience, my opinions. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Yeah, I know a lot of people can really get caught up on the I don't want to waste my uni degree thing, and I kind of get, like, I get it, but I don't have that belief around it, but I get it. But I think it is a waste. Like, I'd rather not waste the 50 years ahead of me working than the 5 that I've already spent and I can't change. So yeah, you might get some questions from friends and family being like, what are you doing? And you say, I've made a new decision. And yeah, I'm so happy I made that decision. It's been 3 months since I left my accounting job, and it has been a learning curve, a steep learning curve, to get into a new routine and to really ramp things up and to like come into myself, if that makes sense, like to really be like, give myself permission to go all in and to not be afraid of what other people might think, or I'll probably do a whole video on that because that's another thing. And yeah, to not be afraid for it to fail or to change my mind about things and what I want to do with this point in my business. In a year, I might have a completely different idea and make a new decision, and to not be worried about the appearance of inconsistency when I am truly thinking, like, have a belief that that new decision is better than the one I've made before. We really can get into a rut when we stop making decisions and when we just think, oh, well, I already made that decision, so I'm just going to live by it. You can make any decision again. You can choose to make the same decision again, or you can choose a different one. But I think really checking in with your decisions and thinking, am I doing this because I made a decision 10 years ago? Like, would I make the same decision now? And if not, why am I still doing it? I just think that stuff's really powerful to ask. So that's all I really wanted to say in this video about my uni experience and changing degrees and all of that. I learned a lot about how to study well and how to learn things very quickly, and all of that. So I'll be doing a video on that as well. But yeah, I just wanted to chat about what to do when you have a uni degree and then you don't want to use it and that kind of thing. So yeah, I hope you have found this video helpful. If you have, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, I stopped fiddling too. Did I? I think I did. I'm proud of that. I think I did.